Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another in the Creative Outlet bonus series. This is a sister show, I suppose you could say, to the Creative Outlet podcast, where we're mainly focused on one topic. It's a bonus, after all, because I don't really have the time to make a full episode on this, and it's only one topic. But then again, I guess future episodes are only really going to be double the topic, so can I really call it that different? Anyway, that question out of the way. I was trying to think of the particular word that I wanted to have go there in between. That's the adjective semantical. I don't know if semantical is a question, but for sure that semantics question out of the way. It's time for us to start this episode. Today is June 23rd, 2023, and yes, it is that time again. It's time for me to provide some thoughts in the latest in another series, the Nintendo Direct series. We had an episode air on Wednesday morning, and I spent some time after that show by taking down some notes. And, I also did something special for this because I want to try to bridge the gap between something that I tried out a few Directs ago, back in 2021, to today, which is that I wanted to have some amount of live reaction in this. I feel like my live reaction in the 2021 Direct that I did not go over as well. Or actually, it might have been early 2022, but either way, whatever that one was, it didn't go over as well as I thought because I'm not that great at just being able to constantly talk over something or feel like I need to have appropriate silences. And even then, you folks out there listening, I'm not putting in the audio of their presentation because I don't want to have any copyright issues on something, especially when I have, certainly at this moment, who knows what will happen in the future, but I don't exactly have much of what I would call an audience base, right? So it's like, do I really need to take that risk? No, I don't need to. But I do think those live reactions are fun, especially at those times when you get those big, giant reactions. Those are great. I also don't have a ton of those, but I did have some for this presentation today, which makes me extra glad that I took some of this down, because I think those moments are really engaging and people just really like to see them. So I'm going to have some of those in here today for you folks. And, I was inspired based on my reaction to another presentation from the prior week that also would have been great to show here, except I was not recording anything during it. But I should have, because it would have been another great moment to have here. And we'll have more on that shortly. I'm sure you folks, if you've been paying attention to any of the news in the game space, kind of have an idea of what I'll be referring to shortly, but we will get to it regardless. And given the way that the last few episodes went, and I'm really trying to work on shortening these. I'm pretty much just going to talk about the pieces from this Direct that did give me some big reaction. There's going to be a few bits in here where I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk about this. I don't have a live reaction to go to it or to go with it, but here's that thing. But basically, I'll be peppering in some of the smaller things that I was interested in because just talking about them, because there's only really so much value in me saying, hey, that game Fae Farm was there. I'm not going to pick it up. I'm not interested in farming games. And that's that, because that just really wastes time. It just doesn't really make sense for me to talk about them because I don't have a stake in them. I'm not going to provide useful commentary on them as a result. I do have some brief production notes. The next main episode is still in progress. I'm talking about episode 26 in this case. Episode 25 is also in progress. I need to finish editing it, but of course, if you're listening to this, that means episode 25 has already come out because I've been releasing these in chronological order. But yes, 26 is in progress. Some of the stuff that was going to be in the brief, intro-y news portion in there is going to be here instead, so I guess I do have some plans for that now based on one thing that was announced in the Direct on Wednesday. But beyond that, of course, we'll just have to see what news happens to come out between now, Friday the 23rd, and whenever I record that next week. But I do have one thing planned, and I will share it later when it's relevant. It's not relevant it's kind of relevant right now, but it's not relevant to the topic. It's relevant to a particular topic in this episode, so we'll talk about it there. Like I said, hopefully there's going to be more that comes out that's worth reporting, but otherwise, just expect the two main topics for that. And of course, I do have notes on that episode being started. I'm going to be talking about Project Q and the little Steam/Dolphin debacle that's been going on. And yeah, that's my next recording after this. And yes, I know I'm recording when I have not finished editing something. It's not a good habit to be in. Well, it's kind of a good habit, but it's not entirely a good habit. But, you know, it is what it is. And this is going to be my last production update before I start giving my non-direct related thoughts here. And it is that I do have another trip coming up here. I'm going to be gone from July 7th to the 14th. So in some ways, this kind of worked out, because this means as long as I have all that I need recorded and edited, I should have content for that week that I'm leaving as well. Of course, I'm not going to have anything for the 14th because I'm not going to be taking my computer with me and writing notes when I'm supposed to be relaxing and or seeing family members. But, you know, I should at least have, hey, this comes out, or, well, the next episode being episode 25 comes out, or actually maybe that will work out, comes out on the 30th. In fact, let me just look at the calendar because I will be editing that this weekend. Yes. Booster Course Pass Part 2, that's not the name of the episode, that's just what I'm calling it here. That comes out on the 30th. This would be on the 7th, and then, yes, the 26th episode would be the 14th. So I would have stuff for all those weeks. That's a good thing. And then I can prepare stuff for the 21st, assuming that I keep on this good momentum, which I really hope to, because I had some good momentum in March. I don't want to squander it now when I'm having a bunch of recordings. Anyway, we're going to start getting into some newsy stuff. Before we get into the main meat of the matter, the direct, I suppose you folks probably want to hear my thoughts on certain stuff in the latest Capcom showcase. And man, oh man, I could not have been happier with it. I would have liked something better on the Mega Man side other than Mega Man X Dive Online. But that's neither here nor there. That's not really the big thing. The big thing is other stuff. Because Capcom basically gave a whole section dedicated to me and my brethren, and I must happily admit to being wrong about something. Now, what I was right on is that Ghost Trick Phantom Detective did get shown off in that presentation. And it was with Shu Takumi himself presenting the game, similar to what he did for the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. And folks, I have to give him an insane amount of credit because, as he said during the presentation, he practiced for 2 weeks leading up to the show to deliver it in English. And there's massive props there because English is a super difficult language. Even any native English speaker can tell you that English is very difficult to understand because it's got all kinds of ridiculous exceptions and it's just annoying. And, while I don't know if I can take up his offer that he had at the end of his little speech there to converse with him in Japanese, because it is also a very difficult language to learn, maybe I got to start looking into writing him a letter or just a note of appreciation at some point, because, like I said, English, hard language, not his native language, a very different language from Japanese with completely different characters and such. And, he should be proud for even just giving that little bit of a speech there, because, if I had to go and give a speech in a completely different language with a completely different character set from what I am used to, I would have a very hard time too, especially with that little bit of practice. So, bravo, massive props, just tons of appreciation for that on its own. But on to the game. I never played Ghost Trick on the DS, so I didn't really know much about it. But of course, If you out there, audience folks, did play it, you're pretty much just getting Ghost Trick Phantom Detective as you remember it, which, is fine. That's all you're really supposed to get here. But now it's with button and stick controls instead of what I would assume is the DS touchscreen. Certain aspects of it seem to me very much like they used the touchscreen for this, didn't they? I'm specifically thinking of the bits where when you're a ghost, you have to move to other objects because it seems like, because they draw a line out from it, so it's like, oh, you drew a line with the stylus to that spot, didn't you? That would be the only thing that would make sense. But really the cool thing in the presentation when it comes to Ghost Trick was the announcement of a demo, and that demo can transfer your save data to the final game when it releases in a week here from today. So coming out really soon. And, I think I did play it and I did have a good time, but going between ghost mode and tricking mode, because those seem to be like the two modes when you're in the bits where it's like you have 4 minutes until the person would die and these events play out and you need to, go between objects and such. And I thought that was a little bit cumbersome, but outside of that, I had a lot of fun. The reason I thought it was cumbersome is that you have to switch between the modes, pressing the L button. And there are a lot of moments where it's like, I'm already moving the stick and I just keep forgetting, like, no, I need to switch the mode first to actually move to this object. Or wait, I can't have this happen because I need to activate this object, but I can't do that in the ghost mode. I have to do it in the other mode. So it seemed a little weird to me. What I'm not sure of is if there was that limitation in the DS version. It seems to me like the kind of thing that you would have been able to keep the ghost mode on the touch screen and the regular mode on the top screen, and so you'd be able to hit like a button and it activates objects on the top screen and then it automatically syncs up on the touch screen. But like I said, I didn't play the game. I don't know that. So maybe it was the same in that, but like I said, that was really my only issue with the gameplay. Is it's just a little awkward doing that. But if that's my big issue, I can't complain so far. And it looks good. It looks like it's going to be pretty short because the demo was 2 chapters of the game, and I did finish that in half an hour. I don't know, is this a 5-chapter game? Is this a 30-chapter game? A 50-chapter game? I don't know how many chapters there are, but, finishing 2 chapters in a half hour makes it seem like, yeah, this will be pretty short to me. But that's fine because I like short games. I don't need every game to be 50,000 bajillion hours because that's way, 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 way too long. And the mystery itself, it's set up pretty nicely too. It's as simple as, your Sissel, he's dead. That's a shame. Wonder what happened. Let's find out. And you know what? We'll just save a bunch of other people from dying along the way with different objects in the environment using our ghost tricking powers. So, I liked the puzzle where you save the lady, that's Lynn at the beginning, but I really liked Chapter 2's puzzle where you save Missile, the dog, which, by the way, not bragging or anything, or really just bringing it up because I'm annoying, but that's an Ace Attorney reference because I think it's Gumshoe's dog in Justice. No, it's either Justice for All or it's the first game. But I know he shows up a couple times. But either way, the dog in that game is Missile. So the fact that the dog in Ghost Trick is Missile is really, really cool too. But I like either way. My point is I liked that puzzle where you save Missile's life even better. And I'm not going to spoil any plot beyond that I experienced, or I'm not going to spoil solutions, of course, because pretty much the entire reason you're playing the game is to solve the puzzles and how to save people from their death. But I just want you folks to know that I did have fun, and I look forward to playing the game sooner than later here, because I can't play it June 30th because I need to wait for PlayAsia to send me my copy, and that has to travel halfway across the world. But beyond that, it'll be here soon enough. So sometime in July, hopefully before Pikmin 4, I'll be playing it. But the kicker of the Capcom showcase is that immediately following Ghost Trick, Capcom did have a world premiere. And that is where I was wrong. They did have new stuff to show off. Okay, I thought going into this, it was like, okay, this is going to be just like the 2021 one. It's just going to be, here's what we're showing. That's what you're going to get. You're not going to get anything else. That's all. But no, I was wrong. There were indeed world premieres, and folks, they finally did it. Something I've been wanting for years. Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy is real, which means I can play Apollo Justice Ace Attorney and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice on the TV. And you know, we might not know much about the gameplay, but I mean, come on. Like, it's going to play like the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy with the same UI. Like, the gameplay, not going to be that different. Granted, there's some, like, weird stuff in it, like the, well, actually, no, they had the forensics in Rise from the Ashes in Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy, so I can't imagine it's going to be that different from that, but there are different particular, you know, puzzles in Apollo and in Spirit of Justice specifically that weren't in Rise from the Ashes, so I'll have to figure those out, but I can't imagine they're going to be that complicated. The designers at Capcom are smart. They'll figure out how to get those forensics and video things and whatever else that was in Apollo Justice Ace Attorney and Spirit of Justice to work on the TV. I'm not too worried. The point is the gameplay is going to be the same. Some things that I said in my Ace Attorney Creative Outlet Gaming birthday extravaganza do apply here, though. You know, I do think it's kind of weird, or at least I'm assuming I brought this up. Of course, it's been a couple of years since I recorded that, so maybe I'm just assuming I brought it up and I didn't actually, but I do think it's weird to have this collection that has one 2D game, one 2D game and two 3D games. And this, I don't think I said for sure, but it's also kind of strange to have three different art styles across the three games in one package. Granted, Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, they don't look that different, but there are noticeable differences. And I mean, you see it literally in the trailer. When they go from Dual Destinies to Spirit of Justice, it's like you very clearly see the ways that they look different. And I mean, none of that really matters to me in the end, because really what I'm getting out of here is this is a collection that's going to provide me something that I've wanted for so long, and that's to play the second trilogy of Ace Attorney games on the TV. And that's all I really want out of it. And, you know, who knows if this is going to be 2024 as Game of the Year since this comes out at the start of 2024, but we shall see. I know the second trilogy generally considered worse than the first trilogy. I would also tend to agree on that sentiment. Something I don't agree with largely that seems to have changed recently is it seems like people think, like, I think of each trilogy like a bell curve, right? It seems for most people the first trilogy's bell curve is Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney is good, it's kind of in the middle. You dip with Justice for All, with the exception of Farewell My Turnabout, and then it climbs up a lot again with Trials and Tribulations as a game. And it seems like people think that same bell curve sort of applies to the second trilogy. I tend to disagree. I think overall they unfortunately just kind of go down with each game, which is a shame. I think Apollo Justice is the best. I like Dual Destinies a lot, but I don't like it as much. Though, to be fair, that's the only one I've only played once, so I need to play it again to really judge that. And I've not played it a second time because I don't like it. I've not played it a second time because, you know, I don't have my 3DS right now. But there's a whole separate discussion that I'm sure I've had many times on this show. Whereas I've played Spirit of Justice twice, and both times I was like, you know, I like it a lot, but it's probably my least favorite of the bunch as far as like the mainline games are considered. I said recently that I finished the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I would hazard to say my actual least favorite game, probably the Great Ace Attorney Adventures for the whole series. Maybe a controversial opinion, but that's how I feel. I like Spirit of Justice much more than it, but, you know, overall, point is, if I had to do a tier list or a full, like, top 10 or top however many games there are of all the games, that'd be a really hard thing, but Spirit of Justice is toward the bottom. It's not one of my absolute favorites. But anyway, let's move on to the Nintendo Direct. And before anyone asks, no, I had few, if any, predictions going into this. I knew Pikmin 4 was going to be there because they said Pikmin 4 was going to be there, and it's coming out in July, so of course a direct that's toward the end of June is going to have Pikmin 4 in it, like, obviously. And you better believe we're going to be getting to that today. I have a lot of Pikmin thoughts. It's probably what most of this is going to be. And I did, have a hunch that Wave 5 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass would be there, but that's about it. I don't really predict for these because I think getting, like, a lot of predictions end up being way ridiculous, over the top, and looking silly. And I feel like it's good to be realistic and just go in with no expectations, because it could either be like an absolute boring, explanation of like, here's a bunch of games that you don't care about, or it could be amazing, fantastic. And for me, the way I would describe this direct is it feels like in many ways the very best portions were they were, again, tailored specifically for me, but a lot of the things I didn't care about were there. There was a lot of stuff I didn't care about that I just kind of skipped over. So let's get started on this. And would you believe it, Sonic Superstars was there, but they didn't really show off anything new. I mean, it's still neat. I'm getting some deja vu here because it's something that I was thinking earlier. Because today Sonic Central also premiered, and I was going to have that in the next episode, but I was like, hey, Sonic Superstars is here, and it looks the same, and it's kind of neat, but they didn't really show off much all that new other than if you pre-order the game, you can get a Lego skin for Eggman, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Like I said, it was pretty much there, but it was still neat regardless, because I think Sonic Superstars as a game is neat. Hopefully Sega really shows off more about this game. That's not just saying it exists and that you should look forward to it. Especially since it's going to be a fall release, so it's coming we're at the end of June. Fall's going to come here sooner than later. I mean, September is less than 3 months away, which makes me sad, but that's beside the point. But yeah, to me, Sonic Superstars is just kind of a there to just say, hey, it's here, it's real, it's cool. A game that I really, really want to stop being contemptuous about, because even I think it's getting old, is Splatoon 3. I really want to stop having to bring it up here and being negative about Splatoon 3, but I really don't understand its presence in this Nintendo Direct. I think my live reaction pretty much says it best, and if I didn't say it before, these reactions that you folks are going to be listening to are trimmed down. I don't think you really need to hear my long silences between thoughts. It doesn't seem really useful, but I'm going to let live me on Wednesday the 21st take it away. I don't know if a Nintendo Direct is necessarily the place you want to announce a Splatfest. This better actually legitimately, genuinely be big. Not that they haven't done it before, but it just seems like, is this really where it needs to be? Why can't it just be on, Twitter? My opinions still have not changed on Splatoon 3, by the way, but, again, I'm still happy for the folks who enjoy it. But really, my main point in this is just asking, why does the Splatfest need to be a part of the Direct? It doesn't really make sense to me, but, if it only takes up a little time, it's fine. So, yeah. I don't get the point. I mean, it's fun. I'm glad that people are getting their Splatfests and they're having fun with them. If you like vanilla ice cream or strawberry ice cream or mint chip ice cream, which I have to agree with others. I don't understand why it wouldn't be strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate, but whatever. Glad people are having fun with them, but you know what? If folks out there can rightly make fun of Sony for announcing, hey, here's this month's PlayStation Plus games in one of their State of Plays, I can absolutely make fun of Nintendo for announcing the next Splatfest in a Nintendo Direct, because that's just a waste of a few seconds. I mean, I said it in the live portion. This is something that should have been a tweet at best. This does not need to take up time where we could be presenting a new game. It's silly. It's silly. I don't get it. Now, the next major announcement, as far as I was concerned, I did have a bit of it did have a bit of a deflated reveal, okay? But it's not necessarily because of the game itself right away. I want you folks to listen in, and I want you to see what I mean, because my reaction was really like the major deflated part, but I'm actually quite excited for this game. So again, live Brandon, tell us what your thoughts were 2 days ago from this recording. More Pokemon, except it's got a particular vibe. Yep. I hate to say it, folks, but this is the one thing I was spoiled on before, because I couldn't just easily get into this, of course. It's a whole long thing. But hey, Detective Pikachu 2, finally! It's only been God, how many years has it been since this was announced? It's been a while. I think it could look a bit better, but unfortunately that's been a running theme with a lot of Pokemon games, is that they don't look as good as they could. But hey, I'm very glad to see this come back, because it's like a different sort of Professor Layton, Ace Attorney kind of thing. I mean, I know it's a lot easier than them, but I'm excited for it. Hopefully that means there's more information on the sequel movie too, but I don't know if there's going to be a sequel. October 6th, all right. That's really soon, nice. Detective Pikachu Returns. Yes, finally, after 5 years, we are getting the sequel to Detective Pikachu. And to be honest, I think this was the real sleeper of the Nintendo Direct. Now, don't get me wrong, I did mention during that brief live portion that I don't think the game really looks that great, and I still believe that. Unfortunately, it seems to be par for the course for a lot of Pokemon games right now, but that is what it is. And, for such a simple game, that really is the main thing that I wish the folks working on it had focused on, especially toward the end of development here. I don't think Detective Pikachu Returns really needs to look like some absolute masterpiece of a game, but, because, like I said, it's still Pokemon after all, but to me, visually, and maybe this is a little harsh, but I think Detective Pikachu Returns kind of looks like a late-release PS2 game, early PS3 360 game at best, and that's not good. But why I say it's a sleeper, though, is that it's going to be another game added to my pile of adventure games that I'm going to be playing through the near future. I am really excited for Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy, as you have just recently been informed, but I don't think having easier adventure games like Detective Pikachu Returns is a bad thing. And they also, in the reveal, they just seem to kind of gloss over the story of this game here, so I'm hoping that the team is just keeping details about it under wraps because it's supposed to be good, but I can't say that not talking about it gives me a ton of confidence that it's going to be a really good story. And what I don't know is if this is going to wrap up the larger story or if there's going to be room to turn this into a Detective Pikachu trilogy. And like I said, when I was live, hopefully this does also mean there is movie news coming sooner than later, because I did really, really like the Detective Pikachu movie. So if there's anything that can be done to expand on that I'd really love to see. But the last thing, though, Detective Pikachu, like I said, it was a pretty late 3DS release. So even though I highly doubt this is happening because, it would have been shown here if it were, I do think folks would benefit from a Switch port of the original Detective Pikachu before the sequel comes out. Because, how many people are going to be interested in Detective Pikachu Returns that aren't going to pick it up because it's like, oh, it's Detective Pikachu Returns. So they're like, well, I didn't play that game. I didn't play the 3DS game. And now if I want to, I need to go through the effort of finding a used 3DS copy and getting out my 3DS. And God, that just seems like a lot of work, and a lot of like money when you consider that the game loose is going for $30, which, mind you, that is more than I paid for it complete at a local game shop years ago. Not that much more. I paid $25 for it complete a few years ago, but in short, I'm looking forward to this, but for as much as I want to play it, it's not on my short list of must-get games right now, and I think not having easy access to the original Detective Pikachu is going to make it the same for a lot of other people. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the fact that there's going to be a Switch game with the word Pikachu in it is going to make it really popular, but I just foresee the idea of the word returns being there, suggesting this is a sequel, turning some people away. But we will have to see. Now, the next trio of games, I'm going to put right in a row, the live section for it, all three are going together, because this was a doozy. I was thinking after the Direct that I would agree with others that this wasn't a perfect one, and yeah, I pretty much ended up being right on that. But like I said, the major pieces seemed like they were perfectly tailored to me, and this section is a major piece of why. Just enjoy my reaction here, folks. Oh, whoa. Super Mario RPG? This is either one of the things I was thinking, a weird Switch Online thing, or this is a... Whoa! We're remaking Super Mario RPG? They look all squat and stout like they did in the original version? Wow. Now, this is something I don't think anybody ever saw coming. But first off, it's just good to have a new Mario RPG, but specifically Super Mario RPG is huge, because that's, you want to talk about a fan favorite Mario RPG. This is like it is the first Mario RPG, but wow. I did not think I would see this ever come back, but this is gigantic. And the music's great. Like, I'm really enjoying the songs. Like, I assume Square Enix is actually involved. Although, as much as I like the style, I am kind of surprised they didn't just go for an HD 2D sort of thing. But, I'm plenty pleased with this. I will say, I didn't get into Super Mario RPG as much as other folks, but I'm excited to see this back, so I'm sure it'll be a good game. I'm liking all the new cutscenes. It's looking good. The real question is, will there be any new stuff, or is this just Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars as we know it? And they're spending a lot of time on it, and rightfully so, I'd say. November 17th, Super Mario RPG. I'll be getting it, eventually. Interesting that it took off the subtitle Legend of the Seven Stars for the English version. And hopefully this spells good news for future Mario RPGs. A new Peach game? Really? It's a stage-based Peach game. That's interesting. And another thing? Oh! Remake of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Hopefully it gets some good gameplay tweaks too. I think Dark Moon is probably people's least favorite. But hey, that's neat. I think it would have been better to remake Luigi's Mansion 1 again, but, again, if they improve stuff with Dark Moon, I'm fine for that. If anything, it's already got twin sticks, so it's got that going for it. Yes, indeed, Super Mario RPG is making a comeback. That was completely unexpected for me. Now, apparently, there was some chatter online that a Super Nintendo game remake was supposed to be coming soon. I think specifically a Square Super Nintendo game. Now, I had no idea about that. I guess I just wasn't in the right circles to be hearing that kind of rumor, but so to me, this was a complete surprise, completely out of the blue. And like I said in the live portion, I'm not as attached to Super Mario RPG as others are, but I think this is fantastic regardless. Just visually and sonically, like, oh my goodness, it's an absolute masterpiece. I do think the gameplay could stand to have just a little bit more visual polish, but the cutscenes and the music, they're just, oh. They are divine pieces of media, folks. They look and they sound absolutely fantastic. Now, one tiny gameplay thing that I'm not so sure of, it does look like you're locked to the 8 directions instead of having complete analog control. And I think that could be awkward, but I also hope that's going to make the isometric platforming in Super Mario RPG easier, since they're pretty much keeping all the layout wholesale. It looks like the battle system is Super Mario RPG as we know it, but I do want to know more about the text box on the left side that shows off some enhancements, and I want to know more about the pi meter with the percentage in it that keeps filling up, because those are new. Those were not in Super Mario RPG, and maybe I'm not just so good at the game too, but I really do hope that the commands are just a tad more forgiving, but in line with the other aspects. I also hope that Super Mario RPG on Switch isn't too easy, because I could foresee that being the case. But I do also hope we see some balancing that regarding the party members, because the best party in the SNES version of the game is Mario, Geno, and Peach. Full stop. You have to have Mario, so he's just kind of by default. Geno has the best attacks, and Peach is your healer. But I want some good reason to keep using Mallow and keep Bowser in the rotation after a while, because otherwise, why are they in my party? They're just a waste of space at that point. Now, I don't really have any notes on the trailer beyond that. My last big concern, though, will there be changes made to the script? I don't think Super Mario RPG is going to have anything that's like offensive in it, to my knowledge, so I don't foresee any issues with that. I don't think there's any good reason to change the classic Ted Woolsey, square translation or localization, I mean, because it's funny enough to where it doesn't need to be touched. I think what there is perfectly fine. And you know what? I also suspect that there'd be a pretty huge outcry if it was changed. It's going to be coming out on November 17th. So again, relatively soon. I'm surprised it was even kept under wraps all this time. And I also don't know if it's going to be on my game shortlist, so we'll have to see come November if I get it or not, but I am excited regardless. And I can at least say with certainty that a remake of Super Mario RPG was not on my 2023 bingo card, so very pleasant surprise there. There was also this mystery Peach game that's coming out in 2024. Obviously I can't comment on it too much because we don't know all that much about it. It looks like it's some kind of 2D game that takes place on a stage, like a theater stage, and we see Peach twirling her little starry companion at what's presumably an enemy, and then she later uses the star companion she has to interact with the stage background, and then by the looks of it, they do some kind of transformation together. So, I will say this. I'm interested in the game, but I also don't know if I'd be interested if this weren't some kind of Mario-adjacent game, right? If this weren't a Peach game, if this were a generic princess game, I don't know if I'd be interested in it. So, hopefully I'm wrong on that, but I get the feeling that if these were original characters completely, that this reveal would not have gotten the same fanfare it got, because the fact that it's in this group of Mario games, the fact that it's starring Peach, who has only ever had one other fully starring game, is pretty much what gave it the, whoa, this is cool reaction. So, we'll see. We got plenty of time till 2024. It's over half a year. Well, it's not over half a year. It is exactly half a year away from now. So we'll see what happens. And then lastly, we have the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, or Luigi's Mansion 2 for the rest of the world, since, I guess the number 2 just doesn't exist in North America for whatever reason. It's getting a remaster slash remake. I think it's more of a remaster than a remake, but we'll see. Maybe it'll have some important tweaks that can bump it up to remake territory. And I liked Dark Moon for what it was. I would say, hot take incoming here, I think the Luigi's Mansion games have improved as they've gone on. I like Dark Moon better than the original, and I like 3 better than Dark Moon. But, I also think it's a pretty giant missed opportunity for Nintendo to have done a local boy makes good kind of thing. Or, let me say it in my 1950s reporter voice here, local boy makes good type thing. Because really what they should have done is remade the original Luigi's Mansion again, because the reception to the 3DS remake was not very good. And it's not because Luigi's Mansion is a bad game, even though I have some problems with it. That actually, my major problem with it was solved in the 3DS remake, but that's beside the point. It needs another chance, and people like that game more. And it's especially bad because I'd say Dark Moon seems to be the least favorite of the trilogy for the general public, by far. But, commenting on the game itself, I'm not expecting any major gameplay tweaks, and I would say that's pretty much fine with me. I don't hate the mission structure, unlike others. I think having missions is a really good way to just keep things simple, feel like you're completing a lot. And I mean, the Switch is still a handheld, so if you're playing it portably and you just want to complete one mission in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, it's perfect for that. Now, I do think the nature of a game like Luigi's Mansion 3 is better, but I'm not so attached to the structure of the first game to think that Dark Moon is bad. But really, what disappoints me in this is, again, the visuals. Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the prettiest Switch games, one of the best animated Switch games, and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, also one of the best animated 3DS games, especially for how early in the lifespan of the 3DS it came out. Very good looking game, very well animated game, and I don't just want to see those graphics up-resed for Switch. I want to see actual visual improvements that make it look even more similar to Luigi's Mansion 3, because the Switch is capable of outputting a game that looks as good as Luigi's Mansion 3. So Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, with way more simple geometry, should definitely, at the very least, have even better textures and lighting. So that's my 2 cents on that. I know they're not the most similar looking games, but I just, to really put the bow on that point, I just want you to compare how Dark Moon Switch looks to how Miitopia Switch looks. Now, is Miitopia on Switch the best looking 3DS remake? No, but they do look distinct. Like, it does look distinct from the 3DS version. It looks markedly improved from the 3DS version. You know what? Appropriate enough. Phoenix Wright's Attorney Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, that footage of the game on console looks way better than the 3DS footage. It still generally looks the same because it should, but the texture is way better. And I don't want to completely discount the textures in Dark Moon, but when you have a bar like Luigi's Mansion 3, I think it's important to meet that. Just give me some more detail and textures in each area, and I'll be happy. That's all I'm asking for. You know what? I'm suddenly getting more deja vu, as if I've been saying that a lot about a certain other thing. I wonder what's up with that, with the Mario games and lacking textures. It's kind of weird. I briefly want to touch on Dragon Quest Monsters, and I think my live reaction to it is pretty much going to speak for itself. Oh, we got a Dragon Quest thing? What's it going to be? It's got about monsters and a dark prince. Could we get some more specifics? Unfortunately, it's not, actual instruments for this music. That would be the only thing I'd really want improved. I think this is Dragon Quest Monsters. Which, is neat for people who like Pokemon-type games, but that's not personally my thing. really, I'd like some information on maybe HD 2D remake or, Dragon Quest 12. But, Dragon Quest Monsters, The Dark Prince, nothing wrong with that. If it makes people happy, it makes people happy. Ooh. But we got the 4 hero. That's interesting. I was not expected. Yeah, long story short, as I've said, I'm glad for the folks who want it. It's not my thing. I don't really have any interest in monster capturing RPGs. I'm fine with just a regular turn-based RPG. That's all I need. It comes out December 1st, so it's a perfect game for Christmas if you are a fan of the Dragon Quest series, or even more importantly, the Dragon Quest Monsters sub-series. But for me, I'm just keeping my ears to the ground for information on the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. And, eventually, at some point, Dragon Quest 12, The Flames of Fate. Whenever we get more information on that, I'd like to know more about what's going on with those, but those seem to have gone dark since 2021. So, don't know what's going on there, but at least we know they exist. But now, folks, we are going on to the section you've all been waiting for, because it's time to talk about Pikmin. And this is going to be the longest live reaction, and like any live reaction, it's pretty scattered, but I want you to enjoy my ecstatic rantings and ravings. Here you go. Oh, it's Pikmin next. Yes, we know about the rescue core, and the bulb. Oh, and there's the peck. Oh. The Mamudas are back, and you go inside a house. Yep, classic red Pikmin opening cutscene. Ochi. He is a good boy. I agree. Gotta repair the ship. Save any castaways. So, could we get a little bit more specific on the story here? The story's been a little bit unclear. Are we saving Olimar? Are we getting enemies? I'm not sure about this new UI yet, but it's looking interesting. Okay, and they are indeed picking up the little crystalline guys. Okay, and you can zoom out the camera to a more traditional view, it looks like. Yeah, but, I mean, that's great to have a flotation device, but what about blue Pikmin? Well, and I figured Ochi could go into battle, but wouldn't you rather... Oh, GBASP treasure. These are very, yes, scattered is an appropriate word. Very scattered thoughts, but, I'm excited. That's kind of what the point of this is. I'm just seeing a lot of classic enemies, and you can go underground, as expected. Wow, lots of puzzles in these caves. They kind of look more like the levels in Pikmin 3, like the treasure levels. Now my big thing, what is this hairy Olimar-looking guy with an Ochi? A Dandori battle. Ooh, so there's like a multiplayer mode included in the single player? That's interesting. I like that a lot. And I'm seeing more captain-like characters that aren't going to actually be captains. So Ochi is like an RPG kind of mechanic. You can train him. And so instead of finding upgrades, you're going to actually purchase upgrades. That's bizarre. Finally, we're talking about night. Oh, but there's a catch. Of course there's a catch. A frenzy. Oh, that's an angry Bulborb. Oh, glow Pikmin. Only, okay. Well, so glow Pikmin don't do anything during the day, huh? They must be the only kind of Pikmin you can have at night. At least that's my guess. They look kind of like wing Pikmin, but they're ghosts. And it looks like purples are in the main game. So we've got ice Pikmin and glow Pikmin as the two new types. I like that. I like night mode. But I hope I can use more than just Ochi and glow Pikmin. More Pikmin news? Pikmin is getting remake, and Pikmin 2. Dang it! And they're coming out later date. I'm getting Pikmin 1. I'm definitely getting Pikmin 1. And there is a demo on June 28th. I gotta wait till next week. Sad. I will not be downloading Pikmin 2, though, because I've almost finished Pikmin 2. Not that I couldn't play it again. And I swear there better again be motion controls, or I will be sad. And like I said, this was definitely going to be the longest section of this podcast in general. This is mostly going to be the Pikmin show. But, I cannot describe to you out there how excited seeing Pikmin 4 makes me. It looks to me like it's shaping up to be an amazing game. Hopefully. Just a couple of tiny little things that could ruin it, but so far, looking really, really, really good. The areas, they're so big. There's all the great outdoor areas. You can go into a house that doesn't look like it's been touched by humans, but yet it's not dusty, so I don't know what's going on there, but it looks really, really, really neat. There's old enemies and there's new enemies galore. I know I made a comment on the UI during that live segment. I want to make it more clear. Really, my only concern I have with the UI is the timer. I feel like the classic linear timer that's been used throughout the Pikmin series is fine. I'm sure during the game they're going to tell you how to read this new timer in the upper left corner, but it just doesn't seem as clear to me as the line. So, probably not the biggest deal, but it's the only thing that stuck out to me with that. I also made mention of the crystals. It turns out those are just a new appearance for the Sparklium from Hey Pikmin, which I didn't think that game would ever get such a major callback, but here we are. Sparklium's back. And it seems to be that the purpose of Sparklium is to be a currency at that upgrade shop, or I think it's technically called the lab. That's where you're going to get upgrades, like you can get the shock absorber that makes you immune to electricity. And it also looks like Ochi can get matching collars for those abilities too, so that, now Ochi's immune to electricity. Hey, I bought the Scorch Guard for myself. Turns out there's a Scorch collar for Ochi, and now he is immune to fire hazards as well. Something that did come up a lot as a pattern, and this was later confirmed on the Pikmin 4 website, you can only have 3 Pikmin types out at a time. Now, I don't recall any feedback on Pikmin 3 saying, man, having 5 Pikmin types to manage is too much. So, I'm not sure why they were like, we'll just only let you have 3 Pikmin types out at once. And Ochi, of course. Now, given that this campaign is going to give you access to all 8 Pikmin types during the day, red, blue, yellow, purple, white, rock, winged, and ice, plus a spoiler coming up, as well as Ochi, I do think it would be cumbersome having to manage all those at once. You're talking, for sure during the day, 9 different groups you have to manage. I mean, they're all in one giant group, but it's like 9 subgroups within that large group. So, like I said, probably would be cumbersome. But I also think keeping the group number to 5 would have been fine. But even then, in Pikmin 3's challenges, some of them did let you manage all 7 Pikmin types, plus you had the ability to throw captains, and if there were bomb rock carrying Pikmin, they were given a separate designation, so you could have them all at once. And I don't remember that getting any complaints, but to be fair to that, in Pikmin 4 you only have the one captain, whereas in Pikmin 3, odds are you were going to split the types up among the captains, and then you separated them. So really, even though you could, in theory, have to manage a similar number of types of throwable objects at once, you probably only had a couple at a time, because one group was with Alf, one group was with Brittany, and another group was off with Charlie. So maybe not quite exactly the same. But like I said, I don't remember any feedback being like, man, we just need to not have all these groups available all at once. And I could also see the benefit that this might force players to be more strategic at the start of their day when it comes to just, hey, I'm going to choose which Pikmin to take with me, since they can't just have, like, oh, I'll take a few of each type with me because I might need that at some point. I don't know. But it also seems to me that, since the areas are so big, there are multiple landing spots, and you can change where the onion and the ship are midday. So unless for whatever reason the onion can't hold more than 3 Pikmin types at once, being able to move the onion to a different landing location seems like that would be the solution to that problem, but it's far from ideal because, I mean, for one, you're going to have to put away all of one Pikmin type, which would be pretty inconvenient. And, I could also see a bit of the tag barrel problem in Donkey Kong 64 popping up here. And that's practically everyone's biggest issue with the game, that it's like, oh my goodness, I just found something where I need to have blue Pikmin. Now I have to walk all the way back to an onion, or to the onion, to go get blue Pikmin. Man, what a waste of time. And that's really bad in this kind of game where you only have a certain amount of time during the day. So I don't know about that change, man. It's not one I would have gone for, but we shall see what happens. I also continue to find it interesting that they're going back to Pikmin 2's caves. And to me, it looks like the justification is a lot better here, though, since, you're going into the caves to find castaways, not just to find treasure. I also don't really want to speak too soon about this, but it looks like from first glance, I don't think the caves are randomly generated anymore. And in fact, when I looked at the caves they showed off, they reminded me a lot of the mission mode maps in Pikmin 3. And, that might be my favorite part of that game. I loved the campaign in Pikmin 3, but the missions, specifically the treasure missions, wouldn't you know, those are really addicting. So all I'm saying in the end, though, is to me right now, it looks like those caves were designed with more intentionality than they were in Pikmin 2, where again, they were literally randomly generated. So there's no human touch on those whatsoever. And then there's the Dandori battles. And those appear to be played against what looks to be some kind of a possessed Olimar. Now, the creature, like I said, he basically just looks like a red hair covered Olimar with a Pikmin sprout on his head and no helmet. And then he's even got his own green Ochi-like creature that also has a Pikmin sprout for a tail. And now I'm not going to get into the theory that's been floating around that, well, clearly this means that Pikmin 4 is a separate timeline where this is the bad ending of Pikmin 1, but I just want to acknowledge that some people think that. I don't happen to believe that. Again, as people will well know, I am a huge proponent of the something is not true until somebody official says it mode of thinking. So until Miyamoto or someone comes out here and is like, oh yeah, this game, this is what would happen after Pikmin 1 if you got the bad ending. This is just continuing chronologically after Pikmin 3. Like, come on, people. Back to the Dandori battles, though. This seems to be the multiplayer mode, but it looks like the battles are present against an AI in the campaign. So you can play against an AI during the campaign in Dandori battles, and then I'm assuming somewhere in the main menu there's going to be, hey, Dandori battle mode, and you can play that with 2 players. And it looks like it's just a matter of collecting more treasure in a time limit, and that will probably still be fun, but I think that could be a step down from the absolute chaos that was Bingo Battle in Pikmin 3. But thankfully, Bingo Battle is in Pikmin 3 Deluxe, so you can still play that on Switch. The next thing they show is the shop, or the lab, and training Ochi, but to me, the real big part of the next portion is finally describing these night expeditions, and it comes with the accompaniment of our second new Pikmin type in Pikmin 4, the 9th Pikmin type overall, the green glow Pikmin. Now, I don't think they do the best job making this section as exciting as it's probably going to be, because the most I got from it is it seems like a night expedition is just kind of like a tower defense mode, because they describe it as you need to protect the luminals, which I think are the termite-like homes of the glow Pikmin, which is also really weird because that means they don't come from an onion. Whoa. But the enemies are on their nightly rampage, and you need to protect the luminals. And it looks like the sparklium was replaced with those starbit-looking things, and those get brought back to the luminol, and that's what grows more glow Pikmin. And that is what we know about Pikmin 4. Now, there actually is a decent amount more on the website for the game, but I think the big highlight from there is the adventure co-op, and that co-op is severely dumbed down from Pikmin 3 Deluxe, because in Pikmin 3 Deluxe, you could actually, like, both be captains and split up and do things separately. And in Pikmin 4, it's basically the co-op in Super Mario Galaxy. You can have a second player that throws pebbles and pick carrots at enemies to do damage and distract them. And that's about all there is to it. So, gigantic loss there, but it is what it is, I guess. Now, the one outstanding detail that was not shown off in the Direct, though, the one gigantic thing that could ruin Pikmin 4 for me, they did not show off motion controls. And I'm getting more and more worried that either they're not here or they've been dumbed down in some way. You know, I come back to the point that motion controls are king in Pikmin. There are not a lot of games where motion controls specifically enhance the experience outside of games where that's like the only way to control it and it's meant to be played that way. Like, you know, you can't, like, Wii Sports, obviously not as fun without motion controls, but that's an obvious example. You know, some people swear by the gyro for Splatoon. I don't, but I think the way people feel about that is the way I feel about motion controls in Pikmin. They are pretty much necessary to have a really, really good experience, in my opinion. You know, more power to people who can play the game with sticks. I'm happy for them. I don't nearly enjoy that as much. And, you know, if the motion controls just aren't going to be a thing here, then the lock-on is going to have to be really, 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 really good to compensate, because not having motion controls, that would be the major downfall for Pikmin 4. And then it would cause a certain other game that ended this presentation to likely take the place of Release of the Year from Pikmin 4. And I was pretty much set on that game being Release of the Year because I really want to play this game so bad. But, you know, it turns out we didn't just get Pikmin 4 news, because Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2 got a shadow drop release on the Nintendo eShop on Wednesday. Now, for crazy people like me, there is going to be a physical copy available in September. And there was some concern that North America wasn't getting one because it wasn't mentioned anywhere in the Direct. But listings for it are showing up now. Nintendo of America tweeted, "Hey, good news! September 22nd, buy Pikmin 1 and 2 on a cartridge." So I will probably be getting it in September instead of, you know, now, because I want that cartridge, dang it. Especially if it's a cartridge that contains both games. I would really like that a lot. And I only really have two gripes with these remakes of Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2. I think Pikmin 2 looks great for what it is, and, you know, it's really clear to me that these are just HD ports. But I really would have liked to see some visual touch-ups to Pikmin 1, because it really looks like a GameCube launch title. The models in it they just look really, really simple, not quite N64 simple, but really simple. And the textures, I mean, again, they look nice and up-resed, but you can really tell, like, wow, they really stretched out a grass texture here to being really big, for example, instead of, you know, what it looks like in, say, Pikmin 4. Now, to be fair, Pikmin 3 kind of has some similar problems. There's some speculation that since it started as an original Wii game, that might be why that is. I could see that. I don't think it's nearly as bad in Pikmin 3 as it is in Pikmin 1 here. But it is what it is. My other gripe comes back again to the motion controls. Reports from the folks who've played the game say that the motion is only on when you whistle and when you throw Pikmin. And in my opinion, not sufficient. If I can't control the cursor, how am I supposed to plan for throwing the Pikmin when the controls do turn on? And furthermore, if this is what Pikmin 4's motion controls are like, it's not as bad, but it would still be a pretty big blow to that game. And most importantly, I don't think anybody complained about how the gyro controls worked at Pikmin 3 Deluxe, because it kind of had this similar hybrid style as an option, but it also had dedicated motion controls as an option for people like me. And as far as I'm concerned, Pikmin 1 and 2 really needs those controls patched in, at least as an option. I was super excited to play them at first because this could be the way that I finally play Pikmin 1 the way that I want to, but I might just have to keep looking for a Wii copy of that game. And to be fair, Wikipedia, that's the Pikmin wiki, they do say that motion controls are enabled for the cursor, including just, when you're moving, as long as you're holding down A or B. And I have seen videos that seem to also suggest this is the case. Of course, I haven't played it, and I haven't just heard anybody else say, oh yeah, that's exactly how it works. So, maybe worst case scenario is that means I'm going to have to hold down the B button throughout the entire game to keep gyro enabled, which is really annoying, but, it at least is a solution to that problem, if what that article says is true. But like I said, did anybody really complain about the motion controls and how they worked in Pikmin 3 Deluxe? Like, we really just couldn't have them on all the time. I mean, you already have to enable them from a menu anyway, so why not just, have the option for people who want the hybrid, let them have the hybrid, and let the option for people who want them on permanently just have them on permanently. That doesn't seem like that big a deal to me, but whatever. That discussion went in a lot more negative direction than I thought when it initially started so positively, but, I really want Pikmin 4 to be really, 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 really good. But from here on now, let's talk about an independent game. I didn't have much live commentary on this one, so we're going to skip that here. I'm just going to be talking about it now, pretty much like I did for Sonic Superstars. Penny's Big Breakaway. It's a 3D platformer that, funnily enough, comes from some of the developers behind Sonic Mania. And man, I think it looks fantastic. It just seems like it's a more fast-paced version of Chameleon Twist, if anybody remembers that on the N64. You have a yo-yo that can be used to grapple, and it can act as a float, where it's almost like you get an instant vine in midair that you can swing off using it to jump from platform to platform. And most of the game, it looks like you're evading these penguins that are sent after Penny by the king after she embarrassed him using her yo-yo. Again, I don't have a ton of commentary on Penny's Big Breakaway here because we didn't learn a ton, but the gameplay, it looks super good. You can color me super interested in this game. And I want to pick up some other 3D platformers that I've missed along the way on Switch. Lunistis is a game that came out earlier this year. It's kind of in the style as a game that I need to go back to, but Penny's Big Breakaway, just learned about it. It's definitely on my radar. Again, I don't know if it's going to be on my short list of games, but as far as independent games go, that's definitely on my short list of ones that I need to get. And, I thought I was done discussing this for a while, but turns out I got to talk about the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass again. Now, to be fair, this was one of my only predictions because, come on, obviously it was going to be here. It's been in every direct since the first one it was revealed in, so of course it was going to be here. And from here on, outside of the final game I'm going to be talking about, I don't have any live bits planned. My reactions were fine for this, and the next thing or two, but I feel like my reaction to the final game here is the best one. These ones aren't that special, so again, I'm just going to be spending time talking here. Talking now in the present of Friday, June 24th. We got a glimpse at yet another brand new track. This one's coming in Wave 5. It is Squeaky Clean Sprint, and it is a track that takes place in a giant bathroom, which is the weirdest thing ever. If this were Wario Kart instead of Mario Kart, I feel like that would make a lot more sense. But here it's kind of weird. That doesn't mean I hate it, but it's just a little like, they really went there, didn't they? We don't really know much about the track layout. I do see some nice curvy turns, and I did spot at least one anti-gravity half pipe, so it looks like those are continuing to be added to tracks, which is great. I want them to keep doubling down on this because this is a new mechanic for Mario Kart 8, and if there's anything the Booster Course Pass can keep adding, it's new stuff. My one sticking point with the track, it doesn't look as good as Yoshi's Island did in the last wave. And I don't want to see a step back in visual quality this late into the DLC. It doesn't look like a Wave 1 track. That's not what I'm saying. But at this point, I think it's fair to have expected that the visuals for the tracks, remakes or new, should be on the same level as base game tracks, and I don't think this has quite met it, and that's disappointing. Now, I'm hoping my fears on that are assuaged upon release, but right now, it just doesn't look like it has the quality I want to see. But I will have to pass final judgment on that track and the other 7 that come with it when they release this summer, which also means I need to write more track reviews, which I'm not looking the most forward to, but I've already done 32 tracks. I'm going to finish the last 16. I owe it to you folks to do that since I started, and, I cannot hate doing podcasting. It's part of, writing is part of doing this, so it is what it is. But, more importantly in this particular section, we did find out the 3 new characters being added this wave. Yes, that's right, we're getting 3 characters, not 1, not 2, 3. I guess I kind of expected it had to be that they would do that, because we only did get 1 with Birdo last time, so now we're going to have 4 total. The 3 new characters from Mario Kart Double Dash. PD Piranha is making his return. I'm pretty excited for him. I never unlocked PD Piranha in Mario Kart Double Dash, so it'll be my first time playing as him. It's also just nice to have another, distinct Mario character. Birdo is kind of a distinct Mario character, but she's a distinct Mario character in the same way that Yoshi is, in that, they are their own characters, but they're also a species of characters. So it's nice to see a character that is absolutely, this is PD Piranha. Not anyone else. It is PD Piranha. So I'm glad to have that. For Mario Kart 7, Wiggler is coming back. And, I rag on Mario Kart 7 a lot. I don't think its roster is the best. And I don't love that there's just tons of enemies as characters, but I actually do think Wiggler was a pretty fun character in Mario Kart 7. Yes, hell hath frozen over. I am praising that game. I might even go so far as to say he was one of my favorite characters in Mario Kart 7, so I'm glad to see him coming back. But my favorite for this whole wave is actually the one coming from Mario Kart Tour, believe it or not. It's Kamek being added as a playable racer. Now, they pronounced his name as Kamek. To me, he's always been Kamek, so he's going to be Kamek. Sorry, guys, but I think Nintendo's wrong on this one. He's going to be Kamek. But really, my reasoning for Kamek being my favorite is because I don't actually see him as a Mario Kart Tour character. I see him as a Mario Kart 64 racer, because he was planned to be in that game, but he was scrapped so that Wario would be a racer instead. So I think that's a really, really neat callback, even if they're not necessarily acknowledging it. I think simply by choosing Kamek to be a character, they're acknowledging it. So it's really, really cool. But of course, what worries me now, we only got 2 character slots remaining, and there's no Kongs in sight. And I want to trust that even Nintendo acknowledges that just having Donkey Kong as the only Kong in Mario Kart 8 is like, man, we kind of screwed over the Donkey Kong side of this equation. But there's only 2 slots to go for Diddy Kong and Funky Kong to make a return, so I'm holding out hope here, but not seeing either of them here in this wave is making me kind of wary that DK is going to be stuck as the only Kong in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and that would be a massive, massive disappointment. But that's the Booster Course Pass for you. That's, unfortunately, in some ways, what it's been, for better or worse. Now, something that came entirely out of the blue is a second entry in the WarioWare series for the Switch. The game known here as WarioWare Move It is known in Japan. Basically, it plays on the name of WarioWare Smooth Moves in that region. So I think kind of wish they really went for like a Smooth Moves reference, since that seems to be a lot of people's favorite WarioWare game too. But Move It is a fine title. It's a motion-controlled game that uses both Joy-Con in each hand. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised, because this is what I expected the first WarioWare game on Switch to be, not what Get It Together was. And I like Get It Together, don't get me wrong, but this is just, I guess to me, it's a little more pedestrian for a WarioWare game, but people seem to be liking it. So, and you know, I like what they're doing with it, because having both controllers instead of just a Wii remote, but I think there are some microgames in Smooth Moves that use the nunchuck. Don't quote me on that. I don't own the game, so I wouldn't know. But having both is going to allow for a greater variety of motions, and they're all over the place. You can dance like seaweed. You can ski to a you can ski with them, and you have to do it to a rhythm to beat your competitor that you're racing against. You can wiggle out of ropes. You can dry your back or dry your shell off as a turtle with a towel behind your back. You can slide down Peach's secret slide in Super Mario 64 DS. And then there's some multiplayer modes as well. There's like a Mario Party style board game. There's local co-op micro games. But the really weird thing about it is we did hear Wario speak, and I tell you, that voice clip sounded really strange, almost as if Charles Martinet didn't voice Wario in that game. And I don't know what's going on here, but the clip to me sounded like store brand Wario, if that makes any sense. And it's really weird, because I do think Martinet has changed with his Mario voice over time in a way that's not necessarily as good. It's still great, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's as good as before. But I think his Wario sounds better than ever, so really not sure what's going on there. But, you know, the game doesn't come out till November 3rd, so there's time to figure that stuff out. But there's definitely something off going on with Wario. Okay, now, we're down to our last 2 items. This first one, really small one. They started talking about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I assumed that meant, oh, we're going to be revealing the expansion pass, because Breath of the Wild had an expansion pass, so why wouldn't Tears of the Kingdom have an expansion pass? But turns out I was wrong. It was actually the one amiibo announcement of the Direct, because Zelda and Ganondorf are going to be receiving amiibo in that game style. We don't know what they do yet explicitly, but it's probably going to be just more glider glider patterns and such, like all the other ones. Not expecting anything huge, but it's just nice they're getting figures, and it's just another couple Zelda ones to add to my collection. With all the re-releases that they've had this year, I have actually gotten really close to completing my Zelda collection. I am frankly shocked by that fact. And now we enter the final item to discuss. And my reaction might not be as bombastic as some other people got about it, but I also feel like my live reaction to this really needs to do the initial talking, because I was really excited about this. So folks, Just listening to this, it's pretty good. Oh, jeez, last one. It better be good. And it looks like a new 2D Mario game that looks really, really different. Wow. I never thought I would say the phrase, a new 2D Mario game that looks different. Actually, I guess that's technically a sentence, but I guess people were right, though, that there's going to be a 2D Mario. And I'm not seeing any multiplayer in sight, but there certainly could be if they tried hard enough. And I did not expect the world to get all weird after getting that flower. And there's these like purple coins to go with the regular coins. I'm hoping this is kind of like the Super Mario Odyssey of 2D Mario. Wow. Got weird transformation. Like, is this going to be a Super Mario Land game? Because that's kind of what this is reminding me of more than a, new Super Mario Brothers. You found a Wonder Seed. Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And there's Luigi. See, and Peach. And a Yellow Toad. And Daisy. Wow. All in a regular 2D Mario game. And there's the 3-player. And the 4-player. In foreground and back. Wow. And Yoshi. But is Yoshi separately playable? Again, I just come back to, this is a original looking 2D Mario game. Wow. Wow. And already on October 20th. Elephant Mario. Elephant Mario. That, what was that? That was weird, but I like it. I like it a lot. And I mean, it's pretty much done, so I don't know if there's any other weird stuff for them to reveal, but I am stoked. The final reveal is Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And folks, I would, I may not have sounded the most impressed during that. I've been kind of tired. I'm actually quite tired now, but I have to put on a good show. I'm putting on a show, dang it. But really the big thing that I want to say with this, I cannot tell you the last time I ever thought a 2D Mario game would be exciting. Now, maybe you could say the original Super Mario Maker, because I feel a similar hype for Super Mario Bros. Wonder as I felt for Super Mario Maker, but that might be a bit of a different case, because really Super Mario Maker, I wasn't more excited for the Maker aspect in the sense that I was like, I'm going to make all kinds of great Mario levels, but it's just the idea is really neat for Super Mario Maker, but this is a pure Nintendo-developed 2D Mario game, and I'm excited for it. Again, I cannot tell you the last time I ever thought I would be saying those words, so this is huge. And it's just, there's so much new, actually new, unique stuff here. There's talking flowers. There's no point system, but there's still lives, I guess. Weird. There's the Wonder Flower, and it just makes the world turn into all kinds of wackiness. Pipes start, growing out of the ground, shooting water, and, it's so weird. And that's on top, there's new enemies, there's roller skating Koopa Troopas, there's fun animations when you enter and exit pipes, there's a spiky ball power-up, and that's just a little bit of the originality here. Gone is the bland, gone is the inoffensiveness of the new Super Mario Brothers games, though I still appreciate those, especially the DS one, for what they are. But in comes all this originality. I've never seen a pipe move like Worm, have you? Not until Super Mario Bros. Wonder I didn't. And yes, there's all these different playable characters too. I'll be sticking with my man Luigi, but I just love, there's Mario, there's Luigi, there's Peach in a 2D Mario game again. Toad, Daisy. Daisy is playable in a 2D Mario game that's not Super Mario Run. I never thought that would happen, but it finally happened after all this time. And it does seem like Yoshi is a playable character individually, but I'm going to have to put an asterisk by him, because we do see him, and that's all that matters to me, but we also see Mario can jump on him and ride him, but we also see a clip where there's 4 different Yoshis running around. So maybe there's a Yoshi transformation, but I don't know for sure. We'll have to feel that out pretty soon in the future here. But the two best parts were at the end, because there's also a power-up that transforms you into Elephant Mario, which I think is genius. But I will say at my reaction, I was more like just shocked, like speechless at it than anything. I wasn't like, whoa, Elephant Mario. I was like, Elephant Mario. Elephant Mario. Like, it just sounds so weird and it looks weird, but I like it. And the second thing that was the other best part, we don't have to wait long because it's out on October 20th, which evidently is the same day as PS5 owners getting Spider-Man 2. So, me and my PlayStation brethren are going to be having a real good day on October 20th. I'll be here at home playing me some Super Mario Brothers Wonder. It's going to be a real good day playing that game. And with this game, for as much as I love it so far, I also do have two little sticking points. I know, everything, it just can't be perfect with me. I always have to point out the things that suck, don't I? Again, Mario's voice sounds just a little off. Now, some are speculating that it isn't Charles Martinet voicing Mario in this game. I suppose to that end, that also means that there are people speculating that he isn't voicing Wario in WarioWare Move It. I'm not prepared to speculate on that. Until there is a source that comes out and confirms that claim, this is Charles Martinet voicing Mario and Charles Martinet voicing Wario through and through. We need confirmation on that. I think speculating about these kinds of things can be kind of reckless. So I'm not going to do it here. I'm just going to let you folks know there are people that think that. But I agree with them that it's like, yeah, Mario's voice sounds a little weird, and Wario's voice just sounds plain wrong in WarioWare Move It. The other sticking point I had with Super Mario Brothers Wonder, though, I do think it's kind of a dumb sounding name. But really, there's only one thing that had to be done, in my opinion, to make the name sound good, and that was to drop the brothers from the title. So from now on, I'm going to be referring to this game as Super Mario Wonder, which to me just rolls off the tongue way better, and it's literally a difference of one word. But you know what? In 4 months from now, a little less than actually, it's gonna be in my hands. And, of all the games in this Direct, it's Pikmin 4 and Super Mario Wonder. Those are the ones that are the day one purchases for me. Definitely, absolutely Super Mario Wonder. Pikmin 4. Oh, geez, I don't even know if I wrote about this, but I should have written about it if I didn't. It's going to be getting a demo on Wednesday the 28th. So that's when the rubber meets the road, because if it ain't got those motion controls I want, it's going to be a huge damper, but I'm holding out hope. I'm thinking it'll be good. I'm thinking I'll like it. If I have to hold down B or A the entire time, I will live. But we shall see. But that is everything in this Nintendo Direct that I wanted to comment on. And look, I didn't even go an hour and a half. I am really proud of myself. But even with that, though, I should also point out it is kind of a shame that I skipped so much, because I really did want to be more excited about different third-party offerings. But I think what's going on here is that developers are learning that they can just show their stuff off at their own presentations. Why was there a Capcom showcase? Because they didn't need to show off Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy at a Nintendo Direct. They just didn't need to. Why did Sonic Central happen today? Because Sega doesn't need to show off their new Sonic stuff in a Nintendo Direct. Granted, a lot of that presentation wasn't focused on games, which is a large part of why I didn't cover it here, and why I won't be covering it next time. But they don't need to go to Nintendo or go to Sony or go to Microsoft and say, hey, we are going to be part of this presentation, or we'd like to be part of this presentation, because they can just do it themselves. So I think that's kind of starting to result in some of these directs not having the same level of third-party bombast as they used to have. So it is what it is, but I would have liked to have had a lot more like Professor Layton in the New World of Steam last time. That was a big thing. I really liked that. Of course, I mean, I say Capcom had their showcase. They also did reveal Ghost Trick Phantom Detective in the last Direct, so, it is what it is. We'll hopefully in the next one there's more big third-party stuff. It also could just be that we're getting toward the end of the Switch's lifespan. I don't think it's going to be over in 2024. I'm a little more bullish on it than others are, but I could be wrong on that. You never know. But with that, be ready for next time. Project Q, Steam Dolphin. I'm going to be talking about my impressions from the Pikmin 4 demo. It's going to be really big. I'm hoping for good news. But until then, please, folks, do all of the typical sorts of engagement things, depending on whichever platform you're on. And I look forward to seeing you in episode 26 with those topics. This is Brandon Pudwill signing out.